What are you doing right now?
The big V. Look, man.
All right, man. Let's just jump right into this shit. So,
I made my wife wake up and drive me there anyway.
you...
¿Es a major?
Pasar con eso. Pasar con español.
¿Qué pasó, papá? ¿Cómo estás? Any questions?
Now, when you bought that sweater, right? You just go, fuck it. I'm going full Mr. Rogers. You've tuned into the Man Chatter podcast.
And we are live.
Oh shit! Here we go. Back at it again, man. It is 9:22. Let's give him some behind the scenes. It is 9:22 on a Wednesday night. John is on his third glass. Is that your third glass? Second. For people who are of average weight and height, that's a lot for you, right? Like, because you're 5'4".
On a good day with
my
combat boots on, 155. But this is only 70
so
proof. This is not too bad.
So you're regularly 142. Obviously, I can't drink. I'm on anti-inflammatories. Got fucked up in a bad way. So I can't join my boy for Whiskey Wednesday.
Damn.
For another 2 weeks, bro.
Yeah,
bro.
I'm drinking for the both of us.
2 weeks, yeah. There you are. Fucking remember, you gotta upload this shit after we do this. So slow your roll there, homie.
Yeah, man, I got a question for you.
What's up,
Have
brother?
you ever seen a kid cry his eyes out because his hat wasn't the right shade of blue? Exactly. Fuck that kid.
No.
Does that ring any bells?
What are we talking about right now?
I just started listening to The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and that's one of the lines in the book.
Dude.
I was on the rower earlier today, and I started listening to it, and I fucking had to stop, and I started laughing so hard on that. The first 30 minutes, every line had me dying, but
dude, that, like, the fact, like, I learned a lot about that book, like the feedback loop from hell.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and all that different shit. Like, it's such a good book, bro. I'm gonna listen to that book again. It's probably one of my that one. I think that's one of my top 5 books. I think Mitch album, 5 People You Meet in Heaven, is a really good book. Have you ever listened to that one or read that one?
No, I've read this other one, Tuesdays with Maury. It's here in my shelf somewhere too. I've read it a couple of times. It's a good book. Yeah,
I've seen the movie. That's when with Jack Lemmon. I've listened to that. I've read that book and I've listened to that book, Tuesdays with Maury. One of my good friends when I was in the Army, my boy Carnell Shaki, right? He told me about that book. He's like, "Yo, man, you need to read this book." Like, bro, I don't read. He's like, "You're gonna read this book," and I read that book like in one night. Like, I didn't put that book down. It was such a good book. 5 People You Meet in Heaven is incredible.
Yeah,
that's I think it's a better book than Tuesdays with Maury for me.
That's what I've heard. I got to read it. I mean, this one was only just under 200 pages, so it's an easy read.
Yeah, they're not very long. Yeah, they're not very long books. You could for sure. I mean, if you have Audible, like, I haven't downloaded books in a while. Like, I'll gift it to you. I'll gift you Audible, the 5 People You Meet in Heaven. Mm-hmm. I actually read that book. I don't think I've actually listened to that book, though.
Dude, I have 4 credits on Audible right now because
40?
4 credits because I'm listening to.
I have 15, bro.
Jesus, how many? You haven't listened to a book in a while? No, I'm listening to this.
No, I send books back.
Oh yeah, I try to do that with the Malcolm Gladwell book, and I got some message saying please call us and we'll work it out. And I don't like people, man. I didn't feel like calling and talking to customer service rep. So
why would I do that? Fuck out of here! I'm not gonna call you, dude. I had issues today with my range extender, right? Because I bought a 2.4 and I should have bought the 5, whatever. And it says, "Look, if you're having any issues, call us." I was like, "Well, then I guess I'm just gonna have to send this back because I'm not calling anybody."
Right?
No, I'm not dealing with this problem at all. Like, I'll have my wife go to UPS, fucking in a hazmat suit, and just ship this on back because UPS has like a deal with Amazon where it's super easy to send shit back. Which I don't have to send shit back. This one back though, and probably get the 5G one.
Speaking of
I
hazmat
didn't realize
suit,
there was a difference.
We were out walking the dogs today. Because that's one of the things that we talk about, or like these health experts talk about, that it's fine to be outside. The more space you have between you and people, the better. Actually, if you're stuck inside with a lot of people, you don't have a lot of room for those those air particles, whatever.
Droplet.
Those air droplets.
Yep.
But we're walking the dogs, and there are other people walking their dogs, and we see each other from whatever 50 feet away, 100 feet away. When we get within like 50 feet, 40 feet, people are crossing the street. I'm like, I'm not crossing the sidewalk. I don't care if you're on the sidewalk 3 blocks before I got on it. I'm not moving. They move. Like, people are avoiding each other. At least we thought they were, right? Yeah. And then we went around the block. We started coming back, and we saw this couple that we had passed earlier. We were on the other side of the street already, and we see them, and they were having a conversation with another couple, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, oh, we haven't seen you guys in however. I was eavesdropping on the conversation for sure. Yeah. Hey, how's everything been? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, so you guys haven't talked to each other in weeks, months. Okay. Like, doing this and this kind of doesn't matter when you're like all in each other's space. I was like, oh, well, you guys crossed the street and then you just breathed each other's. You tried. Yeah. You gave it the old college try for half a block.
Yeah, dude, I went to, I don't know if I told you this on a podcast or because we talk all the fucking time. Like, I went to the store the other day, and first of all, every time I go, like, it's like a temporary panic buy, right? Like, I have a list of what I'm gonna go to buy, and then I just see other shit that I hadn't seen the last time I was there, so like I buy that. Like, today I was just going to the store for like dish soap. My wife, I don't know if you heard my wife, she just yelled at me. Like, I bought like 4 packs of hot dogs because I didn't see hot dogs last time, right? I was like, yo, hot dogs is a thing that you can't go wrong with hot dogs. Fucking, she's listening from a distance and shit. So, is she running over here? Oh, so I bought for like 4 packs of hot dogs and like 2 packs of Martin's potato bread. I'm recording here.
I know. It's okay.
Okay.
Did he tell you that he spent $25 on hot dogs?
Wait, come on over. I can't see you. I can't really hear you too well.
She's not. You can say it from over here.
No, I'm kidding. I was just.
No, you can say. Just don't go on camera. Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear.
$25 worth of hot dogs.
Jesus.
$25 worth of hot dogs.
I heard.
Yeah.
No one needs that many hot dogs.
No, they
First
don't.
of all, there were the only one I can't get. Here's my defense for it. This is disrespectful. All right, here's my defense for it. I could only buy beef hot dogs because my wife doesn't eat pork. Because I'm a thoughtful husband, the beef ones will happen to be obviously the most expensive ones, but I can't get hot dogs just for me because then she's gonna look at me like I'm an asshole. Thank you for it.
You didn't need 5 packs of hot dogs.
It was 4.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because they were $5.99. All right, so 4 times $5.99, yeah, that's $25. Disrespectful.
Wait, anyway, she doesn't eat pork because of religious reasons.
Yes, she doesn't eat pork. Yeah, like so like I went to the store for dish soap and turkey bacon, right? They didn't have any turkey bacon. First of all, real quick, turkey bacon is disgusting. It's the driest of all bacons.
Anything is disgusting.
Terrible. Have you had
because there's no real turkey. Yeah. Like the turkey that's on stores isn't real turkey.
No, there's no juice to a turkey. It's dry. Even though I'll say this, we roasted a turkey, and I told you we roasted a turkey earlier this week. I think Sunday, right? And obviously we're still eating it because it was like a 17-pound turkey for 3 people.
Jesus.
So we're still eating it, and cooking it on roast, it actually made it taste a lot better. Other than the regular bake or whatever it is, like we cooked it on roast on a propane oven at like 350 for 3.5 hours. It was probably the best oven cooked turkey I've ever had. No bullshit. I'm not just saying that because like my wife made it, because I've told her when it's been subpar. You know what I mean? Like the first. I'll tell you a funny story, bro.
She's gonna hear that.
Yeah, because no, she knows. I'll tell you, she knows the story because we laugh about it now. The first dinner she ever made for me, she made a pizza, but we had the apartment we lived in before. She's laughing. She hears me. So so she made this pizza, but we had an oven that only one. We didn't know this till much later. That only one broiler like actually worked, right? So it cooked everything uneven. It baked everything uneven. And the apartment wouldn't replace it because whatever. Dude, so she made this pizza. It's the worst pizza I've ever had in my life, bro.
Any comment? No comment from her?
Yeah, she goes. So she asked me, "Oh, do you want to take some home with you?" I was like, "Nah, I'm good." That was really good. And I just like, nope. And I was like our 3rd or 4th date, dude. And I was like, nah, I'm good, thank you. Then I went home and dude, it was like a gluten-free pizza too. It was like, and now I criticize her pizza choices because like she always has like the worst pizzas. Like she'll get like spinach and tomato. You know what I mean? Like I just basically air cheese and veggies. So I'm like, I'm not fucking with that. You know what I mean? Because I do eat pork. Like I eat real bacon in this house, but she doesn't.
But
So
is it like
whatever.
fire roasted tomato?
Let me bring it all back.
I don't know.
No, not fire roasted tomatoes. Like the like I don't think we've ever. I think we've only ever gone to like a pizza place once. There's this place in St. Pete that's called like Superman Pizza or something like that. And all their pizza, like all their proceeds go to like marathon runners and first responders and shit like that. Okay. So you go there and their pizza is really good. So that was cool. But anyways, so I go today was my panic buy was 4 hot dogs. But so I just went to the store for dish soap and turkey bacon. They didn't have turkey bacon. So I got her like turkey, some other shit, like the sliced turkey. I got her that. But dude, I went in there for 2 things and I come out with what was it? 4 packs of hot dogs, 2 packs of the Martin's potato bread. Because first of all, that's the only kind of bread that matters. All other bread is disrespectful and should not be placed on the same shelf as Martin's potato bread. It's fucking delicious.
You say so.
And yeah, dude, like I spent like $65 and I was just every day, like, because I go stir crazy just sitting in the house. I was like, bro, I have to go do something. You know what I mean? Gotta feel a little bit productive. Especially after like hurt myself. Like I'm mad about that shit. So I have to like figure it out and just try to be productive and not go insane.
How's that recovery coming along?
Yeah, man. Dude, it's actually coming along pretty well, man. I'm actually surprised how quickly I'm bouncing back. Luckily, unfortunately, like I have to take 2 weeks off work because of the injury. You know what I mean? That's what urgent care said. So I go back April 7th to get it reevaluated. But the naproxen, which is why I'm not drinking, because it literally says it'll make your stomach bleed. I was like, all right, well, that's not happening. I'll go ahead and not drink.
But it's Tennessee honey. I think it's worth taking that chance.
No, definitely not, bro. Definitely not. Not during these times. I can't fuck around and have my stomach bleed. I have to go to the ER because my asshole's fucking a waterfall of blood. Is that too vicious? All right. So so I'm taking naproxen and I'm taking corticosteroids, which is helping a lot with the inflammation. Dude, when that happened, that was terrifying, man. Like I've never heard a noise like that in my life. It sounded like 2, like when you have like 2 really good Velcro pieces. You know what I mean? Like those, because you know them, like especially being in the military, like you have that one pocket where like they use extra Velcro. Yeah. And when you rip it, that's what my forearm sounded like, bro. Jesus, I was like, shit, I just ripped everything in my arm. Oh, everything. Luckily, the doctor was like, nah, man. Nah. Doctor said it's just a strain. So, but can't lift anything past 5 pounds because like I'm still not able to. It's happened Monday. I'm still not able to straighten my arm out. You know what I mean? Like I can straighten it out for the most part, but like little movements really hurt. But like lifting anything is impossible. Like I've gotten to the point where like I'm curling my just to have some kind of weight. Like I'm just moving my hand around with my phone. Like I can't pick my dog up. So I gotta take it easy, and it sucks, man, because you kind of feel useless, bro. Honestly. Okay. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, man. I mean, just take the time to recover. I mean, that's pretty much all you can do, unless you want to be a fucking dumbass and go back early. I don't know if you even have that option, but some people would try to go back to work early and then make that situation worse.
No, like by law, I cannot go back to work until I get reevaluated. I have to be cleared to go back to work. But yeah, dude, taking fucking steroids is crazy, which is what made me start the conversation with you about like, yo, man, I'm gonna take these steroids. And I'm gonna turn out to be The Rock, minus the Danny DeVito and Jumanji.
Listen, man.
Situation.
You need to stop that shit. All day you've been attacking The Rock, okay? All fucking day. I'm glad that I took a break. I went to take the trash out, went to shower, and then I came back to like these ridiculous messages. Like what you're saying is sacrilegious. You know that? What you're saying is The Rock is an American icon. He is a living legend. Yes. Right? He is the 8th wonder of the world. Don't you dare say steroids and The Rock in the same sentence. Ever.
HGH.
No.
HGH.
No, that dude is all natural, man. 12,000 calories a day, 8 hours in the gym.
Yeah.
That's it.
No. Yeah.
He sleeps for 8 hours, he works out for 8 hours, and then he goes to work for 8 hours.
Impossible. That man
Plus, he's the most inspirational person on Instagram. Like, you need to stop fucking hating. You're just putting out negative energy into the world, man.
His Instagram is amazing. But serious question, right? Let's take this. Instagram is amazing. One of my favorite people on the planet. Love him. I've met him a couple of times. When he was losing his hair, I could feel for that when he lived down in Miami, where it was fucking super huge. Name the last good rock movie, like legit, bro. Like no bullshit, no like John Rant, like legit, like the last
Hobbs and Shaw, Fast and the Furious 25,
and I'll say those words again.
Jumanji right 1 and 2.
Jumanji 1 was funny. I'll say Jumanji 1 wasn't bad.
What do you want him to do in Jumanji 2? Like he's a 6'6", 2 like ripped fucking specimen, and he's trying to pretend to be a 4'11", balding 68-year-old Danny DeVito. Like, dude, that was Academy Award worthy.
The Asian Aquafina, the Asian girl who was in that movie that played Danny DeVito, was a better Danny DeVito than Danny DeVito, and definitely better than Danny DeVito in The Rock.
Hilarious,
Dude, she was hilarious, man. She was incredible in that shit. I want to see that movie that she has that she won like a Golden Globe. I don't know if she won an Oscar for it. I think it's called like The Farewell. But I don't know if like real shit, like emotionally in this house, we're ready to watch that because my wife and I have both lost our grandmothers within the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. That's like a real sore spot. So like even watching like Coco, it's fucking
never
tears
seen that movie, by the gushing. Way. I think you're the one that told me when I watch Coco, I'm gonna cry, and I haven't seen it yet. I'm like, I'm just not. I don't think I'm gonna do that yet.
Here's why, and you should watch it 100%. Not just because you will cry, because if you don't, you have zero emotions and you're probably a sociopath. Ted Bundy. But what like the reason why I love that movie, right, is because it gives not us specifically, right, because we're not Mexican, we're not like a Day of the Dead culture, right?
Yeah.
But a little more to like that's not us. That's Mexican culture. We're not gonna pirate that. That's not our thing. I fucks with the tacos, but that's about it.
Right.
But like it's such a good movie because it gives Spanish, you know what I mean? It just gives Spanish people and Spanish actors and Spanish cartoons like representation in that.
Right.
So that's why first of all why I really liked it. Because I didn't know, like the first time I watched it, I didn't know what to expect. Like I didn't know what was gonna happen. Like it catches you completely off. But every time I watched that movie 3 times, I think. And every time, like I still cry. Like I have no shame. Like because again, it's a grandma thing. So it's such a good movie, bro. Such a good movie. I just like seeing representation, man. Like that's why I tried to watch that show, Gentified or Hentified on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's fucking terrible though. Can't watch it. It's so bad. So bad, bro. Like
You know what's crazy to me though, and I've noticed this a lot, and I get it because there are a lot of Mexican Americans, and especially in California, they're just what that's what when you think Latinos, that's what people think. It's a regional thing, right? Mm-hmm. When you're in New York, you think Puerto Ricans as the Latinos, in Miami, Cubans, and in the West Coast as Mexicans, like different cultures though.
Yep.
But you don't see a lot of movies or documentaries. Everything when they're talking about representing Latinos, it's always something to do with Mexico. I haven't seen a lot where they're representing other, the rest of the culture. And Mexico is a big part of it, especially when you had guys like Cesar Chavez in the States who were fighting for, labor rights and workers' rights and stuff in the 40s and 50s. Mm-hmm. But or maybe even before then. My time could be off. But you don't hear a lot of or see a lot of other movies or documentaries where they're depicting what other nationalities, other Latin American people, accomplished.
That's actually a very good point because that's a couple months ago, probably 6-7 weeks ago. I asked my mom about that. Like, and I think me and you talked about it, like off camera.
Yeah,
it was like for the most part we don't know much. There's no like person like that for us, right? Like the person you know the most is like for Cuba you got Che Guevara, right? Like, and that's not even like in a positive side or that's not what I'm saying. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I'm saying like known people, right? Like they could make a movie about Che Guevara, like you would know who that is, right? That's what I'm talking about. Like I don't know who that would be for Panama. I don't know. Like you got because for Colombia, it shouldn't just be Narcos, right? It can't just be Escobar. right? Like there was people before that, right? Like our countries probably had the same founders. You know what I mean? I guess you can go back to like Spaniard history to like show Colombia and Panama. Like I don't know how we go into that. Like today,
That would be in the
and I'm going to
1800s.
I just
You're talking about like
yeah, I
Simon
know.
Bolivar and the Venezuela, La Gran
Yeah,
Colombia, which was like Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, a handful of countries. When you're
yeah,
talking about,
exactly, dude.
yeah,
Like I didn't know. Like I was watching some show. I don't know if you ever seen it, like Expedition Unknown, and I found out stuff about my country that I didn't even know. Like Captain Henry Morgan, like the one that they like Captain Morgan the
right,
drinks.
yep,
He was something called a privateer, right? He
hmm
actually ran his ship aground in Panama because Spain had like their fortresses there. Had no idea about that, bro. Had no idea that like first of all, I didn't know what a privateer was. I thought motherfuckers were just pirates and good people, right? A privateer is like a a person who gets paid by good people to be a pirate. So he's kind of like a not like an NCO, like a non-commissioned officer. So if like, hey man, if they catch you, you're on your own, but we're gonna fund you. You know what I mean? They're like mercenaries, but they're not. They're funded by countries. Didn't know what that was, so shout out to that. And then the fact that there's like all these shipwrecks in Panama from Spain and England and all these things that were going to war, and I had no idea about it, none. I was like, bro, like how does that happen? Like it can't be whitewashed because those are Hispanics, like or Spaniards. You know what I mean?
right.
It's not whitewashing in that way. So it was just, but yeah, dude, there isn't many movies of like for Puerto Rico, like what I don't know what you get from there. You know what I mean? Like you got Daddy Yankee. Like I don't know. You know what I mean?
He's a great Puerto
You got
Rican,
Bad Bunny
the
now.
liberator.
Yeah, the fucking
No, but look,
the wall.
we joke around, we joke about it, right? But in all seriousness, this whole
Seriousness. Yeah.
reggaeton wave that's been around, like Daddy Yankee was doing that since like the mid to late '90s. I wasn't listening to it. I'm not gonna claim that I was listening to reggaeton back then, but it was like
Of
in the
course
early
not.
2000s. I was listening to it, and then
Hmm.
Gasolina dropped, which was the big one
Yeah.
that went like national all over the U.S., not just in Puerto Rico or New
Yeah.
York or Miami. And so I was listening to it a little bit before then because I was listening to Tego Calderon. And then Daddy
Yes.
Yankees started dropping, and we seen Yandel, and then Nicky Jam, who was actually
Don Omar.
big in the '90s. Don Omar, yeah, big in the '90s, kind of
Yeah.
went away, and then he just came back in the last 6 years because he moved to Colombia to reinvent himself in his career because he was
Mm.
kind of, um, I don't know. They didn't really support him in Puerto Rico, whether it was the music industry there, or the people, or whatever. But in Colombia, he reinvented himself. And then you have
Mm.
J Balvin, who's the Colombian, like the next generation, continuing what Daddy Yankee started. And a lot of people thought it was gonna be
Yeah.
like dancehall, or like Sean Paul, who had he was hot for
Yeah.
like 3 years, like late '90s, early
Yeah. The
2000s,
Yankees been living, bro.
and he's been doing
Yeah.
it for 20 years, and reggaeton hasn't disappeared of them. Instead, what it's doing, it's mixing salsa, it's mixing merengue, it's mixing bachata, it's mixing all the Latin and tropical sounds. But reggaeton itself
Yeah.
has evolved from what it was. I mean, it still has that same, you can hear the beat, that same repetitive pattern, but they mix with a lot of different, they didn't go away. Instead, they kind of mixed, and they evolved that genre into what it is now. And I'm proud to say, because I got a lot of shit
Yeah.
from it. Like, what are you listening to that? Like, Danny El Tiburon, he'd be like, what are you listening to that crap for? Marlon would tell me that same stuff. I'm like, dude, this stuff's
Yeah.
not going away. It's like, I know you like to listen
No.
to AC/DC and Metallica and Nirvana, and I listen to that shit too, but I was like,
So weird.
I grew up listening
So
to
weird to me.
salsa and merengue and bachata, all types of music,
Yeah.
right? R&B, hip hop,
Mhm.
but I never stopped listening to Spanish music. That's who I am. It's part of my
Never.
roots, and that's why I introduced you to Sech and stuff like that, because he's a Panamanian
Yes.
artist who's
Yeah.
doing it big now.
Yeah.
And
Huge.
he's the next wave
Dude,
too. He's gonna continue to move it forward.
There's no song that he's not on, basically. Like I guess like I always heard him but didn't know who he was.
Yeah,
It's like he's done a bunch of songs with like Bad Bunny, but like Ignorantes is like a song I listen to that shit all the time. I'm gonna make that shit my ringtone after this conversation, even though my phone never rings because my phone's always on silent. But yeah, dude, like it's weird. Like even in the conversation we just had, we're struggling to find Spanish, you know what I mean, Latino like historical figures without going into like music. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if that's like I watched John Leguizamo had a thing on Netflix right? Where he did you see it?
I saw
Where he
it.
talked
He's
about
talking
like
about,
Spanish history. Like,
yeah, Spanish history. Yeah, I loved
yeah,
it
like
actually.
Spanish for idiots or some shit. Like that shit was amazing.
It
But
was.
the whole time I'm like, there was a part of me that felt like disconnected because I guess like I don't like in my mind I don't correlate or I don't relate to like Native Americans in that way. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like because like for me it's like it's almost like I detach myself from thinking that like my ancestors were treated, you know what I mean? We're also treated in that way. We're killed for their land. We're enslaved. We're raped. You know what I mean? We're all these things like where you don't want to like think about it like that. Like a lot of my friends like, oh Ben, you're just trying to be black. Like no, bro, we have a similar path. Our ancestors have a similar path. It's just like we I guess we don't talk about it or because we want to say like we didn't have it that way, but like but there was like all these different tribes, all these different Native American tribes, and all over the Americas, really from
Hmm.
a lot from Canada all the way down to Brazil,
Yep.
and all that history just gets wiped away. So you don't have, you know what I mean? You don't have that like abuela or bisabuela or somebody that you could talk to that was like, oh, this is how it was because our history goes so much further back. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's thousands upon thousands of years. It's not narrowed down to 300 or 400 years. You get what I'm saying? So
No,
like
yeah, yeah. It's
it's hard
not
to
when
talk to
like
that person.
Columbus landed or whatever, or when the
Yes.
colonies were
Yeah.
established. Right, I get it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like we go so much further back that like our and a lot of our history was erased, burned down. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
those are like one way or another, like either a Mayan or Inca or you know what I mean, fill in the tribe is our history. You know what I mean? That's where we came from, or you know what I mean? Yeah, like we now we're back down to like Spain, but when the Spaniards came here, there was somebody here, and you know what I mean? It all got mixed in. So
Yeah, and
there's that part of it where like, good,
yeah, no, for me it's the same thing, right? It goes back to the Spaniards in Venezuela and Colombia and the indigenous people that were living there already, and just like everything else, right? There was mixture, there was rape. I mean, that's what happened, right?
yeah,
Just like happened here in
yeah,
the States, but it goes back to the Spanish being there, and yeah, man, it's crazy that we were struggling, and even the names that I came up with were Cuban people. Like we're talking about Jose Marti. I talked
yeah,
about Cesar Chavez, who was a
yeah,
Mexican American.
yeah,
Um, but like, I was struggling to think of other, just Latino leaders, like not in the U.S., but like just
yeah,
within our countries. I
yeah,
go back to the current political. Some of them are in prison, political leaders in Venezuela and stuff like that I've talked about before. Um, but it always goes back to the music, which is, I don't know if it's a
yeah.
sad thing or a good thing, because that's also a thing that, I mean, it's huge, right? That's
That's
part
also our
of
culture, though.
that's also part of our culture. A lot of the music, and
Yep.
not just the tropical, but you talk about tropical, and it's got all the African influences in there, but it's part
Yeah.
of who we are. um,
Hmm.
and it's just it's not the same as comparing that to Cesar Chavez, who's fighting for workers' rights in the U.S.
Of course.
But that's
Right.
that's part of how we contribute to the culture, and it's not the only thing. It's just
Yeah.
at this moment, because we grew up in the U.S. So unless we go out of our way, and I
Yeah.
to be honest, I haven't gone out of my way to really study like past leaders in Colombia and Venezuela and civil rights leaders in those countries.
Right.
I just haven't. Um, so what we're taught here are those people that made an impact in the U.S. for Latinos, and a lot of them they happen to be Mexican or Mexican
Mexican.
American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what? So this conversation this podcast is taking a little. Why do you think that is though? Like I don't remember, and we'll be completely honest with this shit. Like when we're growing up, like the the words that we used to use towards Mexican Americans, you know what I mean? Like and the stuff that like our friends would say, you know what I mean? It wasn't always the most complimentary, but we do kind of owe Hispanic rights in a way to literally Mexican Americans, right? Like unless like there was maybe like a couple mixtures of some Puerto Ricans in there, you know what I mean? Like for the most part, like you're almost like there's conversations in different cultures of Latinos, right? That like you judge and shit talk other cultures of Latinos,
Yeah.
and be it incredibly negative, right? Like Mexicans were a huge part of those conversations. Like there was a lot of negative shit said about that. So Like, why do you think, like, obviously we're not trying to solve fucking Hispanic cultures and and all that stuff on this podcast, because we're just, like we've stated countless times, we're just two assholes on the internet. But like, why do you think that is though? Like, because as we've gotten older, right, we become more conscious, more aware. But the conversations we were hearing, because we were rarely saying those same shit. It was like we were here from our parents or our grandparents. Like, what do you like? I don't know. Where do you think that comes from? Because I don't know. Like, I'm just curious.
I think it comes from a strong, and maybe you can see the same thing in the U.S. now, like a strong national identity with your culture. I've across the years, right. I've come across that where I've talked to Mexican people, friends of mine when I was in the army, and a lot of them didn't like to be called Latino. Not because that's not what they were, but because, oh, I'm Mexican, soy Mexicano. Like, they're proud to be Mexican. But the same thing happens with, I mean, not so much, not to the same extent, but Puerto Ricans and other people and Colombians, and they're like, oh, you know, if you're in a conversation, they'll be like, oh, I'm Latino. Yeah. If it's a bunch of if you have Mexicans, Venezuelans, and Argentinians, or the Argentinians are a different breed, they might be like, no, I'm Argentinian, I'm the best fucking thing that ever walked the earth. But that's a different topic.
I hate Argentina.
But Mexican people are like, they won't just take that generic like Latino term, or I think the politically correct term now is Latinx, which I found out about like a year ago. Latinx. Where I was reading, I'm like, what the fuck is a Latinx person? Like, because gender, we don't want to be gender specific, and Latino is a masculine word as opposed to a feminine word. What the fuck is going on? Like, what, we're making up words now? But that's besides the point.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that. Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah. So in those conversations, my Mexican friends would, not all of them, but the majority of them would go out of their way to be like, oh, I'm Mexican, and you know, the other nationalities, like they might be like, oh no, I'm Colombian, or I'm Puerto Rican, or I'm this or that, but sometimes they're just fine with the Latino term. It didn't bother them, but as a national identity, as a personal identity, they wanted it to be known that they're Mexican. And I mean, they have contributed a lot to you know, the fabric of American culture and to the culture of Latinos as a whole, which is why a lot of people just think of a Mexican person when you talk about Latinos. Someone from the Midwest might just think of a Mexican person. Any Latino is Mexican to them because that's what they know.
Think about how amazing Mexican like culture and everything. Like, they've embedded themselves in every aspect of, like, food wise, right? Like, you'll never meet somebody who doesn't like tacos. You know what I mean? Or even those aren't like the tacos that they actually make in Mexico. They do their own spin. Yeah. Like, there's like arepas are fucking delicious, right?
The greatest thing on earth.
But you don't see them being. Yeah, arepas and empanadas are delicious, but you don't see them being at the same, you know what I mean? At the same level of like marketing or branding or whatever. So it's while at the same time they're being shitted on, they're finding their way through. That's pretty cool, bro.
I think I may have said this before on air, maybe not, but I say this to a lot of people. All right, it might be controversial, so
okay.
Mexican food is just.
This is our podcast.
Mexican food is just Mexican food. Like, it's just the same, and it's good. It's delicious. Yes. All right, I'm gonna put that out front. It's delicious, but it's just the same shit in like 25 different forms. Tacos, whether it's soft shell or hard shell. I think the hard shell is an American thing. You want burritos, enchilada. It's all just meat and a fucking some kind of flour wrap. It's all the same shit. Yeah. You know, there's rice and beans and meat. I'm like, that's what goes in the fucking burrito. So I have rice and beans and meat, whatever you call that plate, and now I have a burrito and I have all that shit in a burrito. It's like the same food in 18, 25, 30 different varieties. Like, just you're serving it to me in different ways where you're giving me the same shit. Like, it's not really variety. Come on. It's delicious, all right? My Mexican French is delicious food, but it's the same thing over and over again.
Dude, I cannot stand like refried beans, like, for like, you know what I mean, like, unless like I mix it in with the rice, I rarely eat them. Like,
I have to mix it in with the rice.
I have to mix it in with the rice. I can't just eat the beans. But you're absolutely right, bro. It's like, it's the inside and the outside of a burrito. That's what you're feeding me, though.
I can't eat refried beans because I grew up eating real beans. Like let's be real.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, real beans when you cook and you
exactly.
put some onions and some tomatoes and a little bit of seasoning and you slow cook them, and that's what it is.
That's exactly how it should be. That's real. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Where the fuck? Where, dude? We weren't even like gonna talk about. We weren't even gonna talk about this shit. We're shitting on the Rock, and somehow we went down like.
Not shitting on Mexican people, by the way. I'm just telling you, you're not fooling me. You're not fooling me with the 30 with like that menu that has 19 pages with 185 numbers. Like I'm in a Vietnamese restaurant. It's the same dish 119 times. You're not fooling me. I know what it is. I always know what number to get. I never change it up because it's the same shit. Just give me the number 11 from the lunch special.
Fajita's a fajita, bro. A fucking fajita's a fajita. But dude, like, the Latinx thing. That's what I'm glad I remember that. So I want to say like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. I don't remember. Like they interviewed these people down in Miami, right? Because for some reason that's where you could find all Hispanic people, and they're the speakers of all. Like they found like 10 people, right? Like, and from different cultures. They were like, I think it was like a Peruvian. Like they try to get it a good diverse crowd.
Yeah,
like people were so offended when they were like, shout out to Peruvian food. Like when they were told, like when they were called a certain thing, like, no, I want to be Latinx. I was like, I never heard of Latinx before. Like, when the fuck did this? Like, I'm not that old. You know what I mean? Like, we're not that old. We're so far removed from these generations. I was like, I've never heard of Latinx before, and it was because of that. Like, they don't want to be called Latino because it's too masculine. It has to be like more nondescript, and they started talking about like the differences of like of Black Hispanics and white Hispanics, and Hispanic conservatives and Hispanic liberals and like and progressives and all that other shit. I was like, first of all, it was a really interesting conversation, but I was just so perplexed by the Latinx thing, where like everything else they said didn't matter to me, right? Because like to me, Latinx was just like, dude, just say you're like, hey, I'm Cuban American, or you know what I mean, or Venezuelan American, Colombian American, or I'm Colombian. Like, why did, like, to me, Latinx almost sounds like you're erasing your culture. You know what I mean? Like you're Xing it out. Like I don't understand. Like I guess, because if you don't want to say Latino, don't say, if you're a woman, then you say, oh, I'm Latina. You know what I mean? Like I didn't understand that aspect of it. So it was just so weird. It was just like, okay, so you're going non-binary with your race. Then if you're something, then you're nothing to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm Hispanic, bro. Like, it was just weird. Like, if you're then you're nothing. Like, that was the relation I made. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but it was just strange to me because, like, again, it feels like you were erasing your culture. You know what I mean?
It's part of the culture we live in, right? The PC, politically correct. We don't want to offend anyone. We want to make everyone happy, we want to make everyone feel a part of something as opposed to being left out. But Latinx, I mean, where, like, Latin and then X, because we're throwing a variable in there because of math, X. Because and I get it. Look, Latinos are, that's the beauty. You said it earlier. That's when you were talking about it just now. That's the beauty of Latinos. It could be someone that looks like me, someone that looks like you, someone that looks as dark as your shirt. I'm probably as white as they come. So we've got those three range of colors, right? And then political leaning, and it doesn't, like, we could all live in the same block, but that's just a diversity that's in the Latin culture. And maybe that was part of it. I know the masculinity part, I know that was part of it because that's what I read in the article, and I think it was on Vox, which I'm not surprised. Vox kind of puts out those types of articles, super left leaning and stuff like that. But it sounds to me,
thing I watched was on Vice.
On where?
The thing I saw, Vice? The interview, like the 2-part thing was Vice, which is super, like, annoyingly super left leaning.
Did you say Vice?
I was like, all right, bro. We're like, Vice. You have Vice Media. You never seen Vice?
Yeah. No, they're super out there, like, too.
Oh, bro, like, listen, we're very well established that I'm super left, right? But I'm not like super left. We're like, hey, let's make everything vanilla. You know what I mean? Like, I'm never that guy, because I'm also like, I'm multi-layered. Like, I'm also a gun owner. You know what I mean? I'm not conservative about not many things. I'm very progressive and liberal with all the other shit. But it's like, dude, just Latinx. I was like, bro, this shit, like, I watched it the whole time. I had like the shit face. You know, the Kevin Hart, like this is so weird to me. It was like, who, like, you're changing something that nobody had a problem with. You just thought, oh, it was like they were saying a lot of shit like, oh, it's white norms. It's like, bro, who the fuck cares? Who cares?
They definitely were white norms, because that's one of the things that I've been that I've been talking about for years, or thought to myself. I'm like, who decided Latino? Who decided this term? It was because it's an American term. It's not a term that, you know, or who decided Hispanic? It's some white person that had to put it in the dictionary or in a federal agency, and they had to define people from South and Central America. And so, you know, they came up with Hispanic or Latino or whatever. So, I mean, but I get it. But at the same time, it's like Latinx. Like, no, let's stick with Hispanic or Latino. And then, you know, just give more choices. Country that you're from, or race. Because race is not, race is a characteristic, right? Whether light skin or dark skin or whatever.
Exactly.
It's crazy. It's crazy to me. And I sound like a baby boomer right now, for sure. But I'm a millennial. But yet I know I'm sounding old as fuck. Like I'm sounding like that get off my lawn guy. But I read stuff on Vox and watch Vice, and when I watch Vice, I can tell these they're like 23-year-old people. Like, I just read these articles and I imagine this girl or this guy just like they just graduated college or they dropped out of college. They're like 21 years old. They don't know shit about shit, and goddamn, I'm definitely sounding like a fucking baby boomer, get off my lawn type of guy right now. But yeah, that's who's writing these articles. Like, you went to college, you read some books about history, you haven't lived life, and now you're writing about it as an expert. And that shit it's
like,
I don't get it.
There's no, like, I don't have the issue with combating white norms and stuff like that. But I don't think the X was the way to go about it. You know what I mean? I think you go with, you know, like, if you have a drop down box, you have Hispanic, Latino, and you drop it down, then you select the 14 whatever, you know what I mean? Off the top of my head, 14 Spanish countries, because Brazil is in a Spanish country as Portuguese. Newsflash, motherfuckers. They're definitely not like they don't have a selection. They're a huge fucking country. They don't have a selection in the drop down menu, which is weird because they're Portuguese. So yeah, you know what I mean. So like you watch that, I was like, oh, yo, just like give me the selection. All right, Panama. Okay, Colombia. It's not that hard, bro. Like, country of origin is how you go about it. Like, oh, it was like, but there was also people like, oh, well, I never lived in Cuba, but I consider, you know what I mean.
Parents.
There was one person,
grandparents.
There was one guy. Super annoying. He was like, oh, I never lived in Mexico, but I really, you know what I mean? I associate or whatever it is, like I identify, you know what I mean? So he was like in full Mexican garb. Cool. Love it. But also,
I don't speak the language. I don't eat the food, but let me wear all this Mexican stuff.
No. He goes, I'm not fluent in Spanish. You know, we didn't grow up speaking. I was like, bro, there's no, what are we talking? Like, fit in the garb, but then what you're doing is just dressing for an argument to me. You know what I mean? Like dressing for a conversation while not having the substance behind it. Right. You know what I mean? And I think that's what the difference is of, like, not saying that we're baby boomers in that way or boomers in that way. Is like, we also know what that feels like, because again, we're not that old. We're 35 and 36. You know what I mean? I think we're both 36, right? Because you're a couple months older than me, but on the other side, you're 83 and I'm 84.
Right.
Yeah. So we're both 36. So we're not that far detached. It's like, yo, like, don't erase it by saying X. And,
Scorpios. Your wife knows about that.
You're Scorpio. Yeah. That's Scorpio season. But yeah, dude, like it was so weird. I was like, I just didn't understand that. Like, but we're like in this weird generation, right? Because we're like the older edge millennial, right? And because I don't even think the 20 somethings are millennials. I think they're like a whole different generation, whatever.
They are millennials.
They go
20 somethings.
The 20 somethings are millennials. So when is it? What is it? 84 to 2000, right?
To like 96 ish. You know, and plus or minus a couple years, but after 2000, like my
depending
son.
On what part you.
Yeah, my oldest son for sure is definitely the next. He's not a millennial. He's a Generation Z, I think.
Okay.
So he was born in 2000. So like somewhere around 94, 95, 96, 97. That's where millennials stop. Right. So right now the youngest, you know, the youngest millennial right now is probably somewhere around 22, 21.
So it is the people who are writing those articles for Vox and Vice.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Who like have their hair dyed blue. Just cool. Be different, bro. I feel you. Live your truth. Live your independence. But also understand that there's people who have a conversation with you that are roughly in the same generation. I'm like, yo, man, what's happening here? You can't get a job looking like that, bro. Like,
Yeah,
let's figure.
like Post
You know,
Malone,
you
like
can't
you can
get.
have tattoos on your face. Like the only job left for you is to be a
But you
rapper or
gotta
a
be a
pop
rapper.
star.
Yeah, that's it. First
That's
of all,
it.
Post Malone is it. I'm a big fan of Post Malone. I
No,
fucks with Post Malone. I listen to him on Spotify.
for sure. But I'm just saying you can't look like that and then go work at the office.
No, no, you can't fucking do my accounting, and you got always tired across your
Always tired.
eyelids. Doesn't
I'll
work
get
for me,
to them
bro.
next week. I'm always tired, man.
I'm always tired. Okay, bitch, you better file my taxes. All right, let's. You know, we always like to talk something political. Let's just end it because we're about a good time. What do you think? Have you dived deep into the? And then that's cup number 4, Johnny boy. You better
Number 3, and it's only by the way, it's only just a smidge, just a little bit, just to get me through the end of the show.
Fine. Yeah. So, what do you think about this new stimulus bill, bro? $2 trillion.
It was $2 trillion, right? Did it go through? Last I heard, I know the Senate.
It went through in the Senate,
right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's gone through in the House yet, but it'll go through. There's too much money for the corporations.
$500 billion for the airlines is what I was reading on NPR. I don't know if NPR is impartial, but you know, that's where I read my news. I go to NPR, I go to Politico, I go to anything, even Fox. I want to see what everyone is saying about the same fucking topic, because it's always interesting to me that there's one news piece
it's always
and they all cover it differently.
Yeah, it's insane. So what do you think about it, bro? Because everybody's like, oh, you know, like the social media like talk shit about it. It's like, oh, if you said not my president, you better not take that money. Then the shit that I'm talking is, oh, if you did take, if you hate socialism, you better not take that money.
He's your president, but if you take that money, then what happened about socialism?
Then you better go.
And it goes, and it goes back to to Bernie again. Bernie just destroyed himself when he called himself a democratic socialist. I just hate that he didn't 100%. Say he was a social democrat. That made a world of difference. That word socialist, huh?
He should have said he was FDR.
Yeah, and FDR did some shady shit too. But anyway, but yeah, you know, they all did. They all do. I mean, like that crazy ass that documentary, which was more like something that was made out by a conspiracy theorist, Shadow Ring, that I was telling you about.
Dude, I saw the trailer and it scared me. The trailer, I was like, I don't know if like at this moment in my life in time, I don't know if I want to invest it in this, because that was a little bit too much.
But a lot of the stuff was just like stuff that I had read or that had come out after the fact. But going back to the stimulus package, because I don't want to get off topic. We do that a lot, off track real easily.
We'll another fucking hour.
Yep. yeah, man. We I mean, we're gonna end up paying for it, right? In taxes. That's how it works out. That's what it is. And the treasury is just gonna. It's not cash money. I mean, for the citizens that are getting the checks, really, it is cash money in the sense that we think about money. Yeah. But I mean, you know, the treasury just prints money out of the blue, and then someone's gonna buy that debt. Who's gonna buy that debt? Is China gonna buy that debt again? I'm glad that I refinanced a month ago, because rates looked like they were gonna drop to like 2.5%, 2%, but they didn't. They just started going back up, because when the Fed dropped their rates, which was great, those affect like personal loans and stuff like that, but they don't affect mortgages. Not the rates that those mortgages are tied to a different rate. And because the stock market started collapsing, so the mortgages weren't going down like people thought they would. So I'm glad I refinanced. But yeah, we're gonna pay for it in taxes. That's what it's gonna come out to. At the end of the day, it's gonna be more taxes on us. That might be next year. That might be the year after that. But I don't know if it's a necessary evil, right? Because people do need something. Millions of people, I'm sure, lost their jobs. Restaurants had to close down, and they can't just keep people on the payroll. They had to let people go. A lot of the service industry jobs, and even those that aren't service industry, if people didn't, you know, there's not a strong employee / labor union here, you know, in all areas. And so a lot of people are not protected.
Destroyed.
Yeah, so companies just have to let people go. Yeah, they have to.
Yeah. So like so one thing like what I thought about this. I thought first of all, I thought the stimulus was kind of weird, right? Like how all these corporations are giving all this money, but yet they've always been given money, and they've
Right.
like they don't have a piggy bank. Like I don't like that's and just that's
You
what
should
I
have
don't
had 6
understand.
months worth of bills saved up. You should have had 6 months worth of expenses saved up there, Boeing.
I didn't. Yeah,
Why did
like
you
I
have an
didn't know
emergency fund?
check to check. Yeah, I didn't know check to check meant corporations too. You know what I
Apparently
mean?
they are.
I didn't know they were just making it by the skin of their teeth and just they're just trying to figure it out like the rest of us. That's so weird that they just get and then they get handed the most amount of money to then probably do this again. Dude, it's just
It
such
goes back to the
bullshit. Like,
stock market and shareholders, right? Because the reason why a lot of these corporations didn't have the cash, and we'll call it cash, like just they weren't as liquid,
yeah,
is because they a lot of them were dividend paying stocks. They have, if you every quarter or however it's usually every quarter. I don't think it's every month, but I have a few different stocks, and every quarter they you earn dividends and then they just pay it to their shareholders, right? And
yeah,
there's like a list of like the 100 that have been paying dividends out to their shareholders. Those are the ones that you want to invest in that have been around since the 30s, 40s, because whether the market goes
yeah.
up and down, the stock goes up or down, they're still reinvesting those dividends and paying them back to the shareholders. So instead of putting that in, we'll call it a rainy day fund, for lack of a better term,
Right.
they were paying back to their shareholders, and shareholders would either buy more stock, reinvest it, or buy different stock, whatever they did with their dividends. But I would choose it, reinvest it, and buy more stock. But
Yeah.
but that's what it comes down to. They a lot of that money that they were making, instead of investing in different areas, or they were just paying it back. That's part of it, and that leaves you with no money when people don't come to work and you don't have people work, and you have to shut
Yeah.
down
You
large
have
parts
no
of your
income.
business. Yeah, you're gonna have to
Yeah.
go to Uncle Sam and be like, hey, I need to borrow some money. Can you just go talk to the
Because no
federal?
because
Can you talk to the Federal Reserve, who's not federal and they're not a government agency and they're private, and go tell them to print some more money
yeah.
and let me borrow some, and then go charge John and Ben some taxes so that they can pay for the stimulus
So
package.
we're covered. Exactly. It's so fuck, bro. It's so crazy, man. It's so like all these like Wall Street is I've become like more like I've questioned it more and more as I've gotten older because it's all based on like speculation and
Yeah.
shit like that, right? Like it's not based on employee work. It's not based on anything palatable that you can actually reach. They go, this is what we're going to do, right?
Right.
A lot of it is that, right? Like this is what we're going to do. Oh, you didn't do it though. No, but this is what we're going to do. Okay, but so the stock. So this next quarter we'll do this and da 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 da, and then they don't meet that demand, or then they don't meet that thing, and
Yeah.
so it's you know what I mean. It's just like these things are like so balloons up the thing, balloons up the stock prices, balloons. You know what I mean? Gets a bunch of people paid. You know what I mean? Who have way more stocks than we can even possibly imagine.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? That like actually see the true dividends of it all. Where like most I don't know. I'm assuming most Americans don't invest in the stock market. There's just a handful. You know what I mean? I'm assuming it's like maybe like 100 to 200, like in my mind, right? Because I haven't looked into like the nitty gritty of it.
Hmm.
Say like tops 1,000, 10,000 people, which is very small amount. You know what I mean? Invest and like actually get the fruits of their labor from the stock market,
Hmm.
like which is what like the billionaires like Jeff Bezos, fucking the Facebook guy. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like all the Mark Zuckerberg, like all these people who have hundreds of billions of dollars that they could just buy and buy and buy stock and hoard stock and flip it when they need to and shit like that. Like for the most part, you're not doing that level of trading. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's an insane amount of where you have people that just do that shit to make you more and more money. So it's like all these people aren't really rely on the American worker to balloon up their money, but then the American worker is always the last person that gets taken care of. And then we're just supposed to believe in trickle down economics and all this other shit where literally this shows you this right here, this stimulus shows you there'll never be trickle down economics because the billionaires, the ones who made all the money off this shit, should have been the ones that stepped up. Like, yo, we're gonna invest in the American worker. We're gonna, you know what I mean? We're gonna pay for like no. What they're gonna do is not spend a motherfucking cent on any one of us, and they're gonna get more money from the government, more money from us at the end of the day. It's fucking, it's disgusting, bro.
Yeah.
It's fucking, oh,
it's all speculation. Like if you look at Tesla, right? Tesla, is a good example. Just because I'm probably because I've been looking into buying a Model Y, but I've been looking into Tesla and I've been following the stock for a while. And you know, you listen to the cost of making batteries has gone down, and Tesla's building more and more gig factories. Their battery and they're building battery. Just they have these battery deals in place with like Panasonic and other people. And then you read that the cost of making batteries is going down, and so their stock starts to go up based on the fact that they're the leading EV manufacturer in the world by far. Right. And like essentially all their electric vehicles are luxury vehicles. So like their cheapest one is essentially a luxury vehicle. But then their stock starts to go up because the cost of batteries is going down. And so Tesla's a leading EV, and they're investing in making these. They have these deals in place, and they're creating more factories to ramp up production, and so their stock goes up. And then they had their not this quarter, but the previous one, they had their shareholder meeting.
The truck.
Yeah. They have their shareholder meeting. Well, so not the truck, but the one before that. And then they they didn't meet the production expectations of cars that they were going to deliver for that quarter. And so then the stock price drops. But the reason why it went up in the first place was because of speculation of the fact that they have more factories now, and the cost of batteries is less, and so it's going to be cheaper for them to produce while they're going to be able to produce more cars. It's not based on anything tangible. You know what I mean? So it's kind of crazy to me. But at the end of the day, man, what happens is that what Tesla, I don't know what their stock price was. You know, at some point it was 420, 450, 600. I think it dropped below 400 now, but I haven't looked at it recently. At the end of the day, these guys are the ones that make out the money, or the institutional investors, not really the individual investors like someone like you and I, but the Goldman Sachs and the people that are really moving large amounts of trades, and they're trading in the hundreds of millions or billions of dollars. But I don't know, man. I'm shocked. Like Boeing, the fact that Boeing is saying they're not gonna be they'll be insolvent if they don't get bailed out by the government, to me is nuts. I mean, there are only a handful of airplane producers, right? You talk about Boeing, you talk about Airbus. I mean, there are other ones, but those deal mostly with like government contracts and stuff like that. And so the fact that Boeing and Airbus are the two main producers of commercial planes, and the government shuts down for 2 weeks, and now they're not going to be able to stay in business, and they need to get bailed out. There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with that when the average American is being asked to you're told have 6 months of savings, have an emergency fund, but we don't have anyone to bail us out. We can't just go to the government and say, hey, I need $200,000 lent to me at a rate of 0.05%, and yet these big corporations, in the last recession in 2008, the banks who were too big to fail can just go to the government and say, hey, I need to be bailed out. We're too big to fail. If we fail, the economy crashes. It's nuts to me that's who's being taken into account first before the American worker, or just the average American citizen. All right, so Benjamin's internet came back. I think he's moved on to like the year 1915 now with his internet.
Maybe.
Anyway,
Maybe.
I went on a rant.
Yes, you did.
Point is, these corporations are asking for money, but when the regular person asks for money, God forbid, just go get a job, improve your skills, get a degree, do something. But Boeing can
pick yourself up by the bootstraps.
That's right. But Boeing can just say, I need $50 billion, or else we're gonna go broke because we've been shut down for a week and a half. But yeah. So having said that, I think Ben, you've got like you played me a clip. I think you probably got the perfect way to close this out.
I think the only right way to end this is with Theo Bernie, bro. So he just said this on the Senate floor.
And now I find that some of my Republican colleagues are very distressed. They're very upset that somebody who's making $10, $12 an hour might end up with a paycheck for 4 months more than they received last week. Oh my God, the universe is collapsing. Imagine that. Somebody who's making $12 an hour, now like the rest of us, faces an unprecedented economic crisis with the $600 on top of their regular unemployment check, might be making a few bucks more for 4 months. Oh my word! Will the universe survive?
I love this guy.
How absurd and wrong is that? What kind of value system is that? Meanwhile, these very same folks had no problem a couple of years ago voting for $1 trillion in tax breaks for billionaires and large profitable corporations. Not a problem.
Going to be about $2 trillion.
But when it comes to low-income workers in the midst of a terrible crisis, maybe some of them were having more money than they previously made. Oh my word, we got to strip that out. Got to tell those poor people that no matter what. By the way, when the McConnell bill first came up, unbelievably, and I know many Republicans objected to this, they were saying that, well, we want to give whatever it was, $1,000 or $1,200, but poor people should get less. You see, because poor people are down here, they don't deserve, they don't eat, they don't pay rent, they don't go to the doctor, they're somehow inferior because they're poor, we're going to give them less. Well, that was addressed. Now everybody is going to get the $1,200, but some of our Republican friends still have not given up on the need to punish the poor and working people. You haven't raised the minimum wage in 10 years. Minimum wage should be at least $15 an hour. You haven't done that. You've cut program after program after program, and now, horror of horrors, for 4 months, workers might be earning a few bucks more than they otherwise went. Well, needless to say, this.
What else can you say? What else can you fucking say, bro?
But we're good with giving $500 billion to, and you know what? And that was because they had to negotiate that number down because they wanted to give more money to these corporations. Yeah. What else can you say?
Yes.
No, we can't give the average person $600 more, but let's go ahead and give $500 billion plus to these multinationals.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that doesn't tell you that these people, both Democrats and Republicans, don't give a shit about you, I don't know what does.
Exactly, bro. Theo Bernie with the flamethrower, bro.
That's right.
He came out like fucking B-Rabbit in the last scene of 8 Mile. Here, I'm gonna tell you everything you gotta say about me.
That dude came out like fucking The Rock and Hobbs and Shaw.
All right.
Throwing haymakers.
Don't lie. You son of a bitch. I hate you. Go watch Coco with your family, bro. It's a great movie.
Okay. We'll do that tomorrow probably. We'll make it a movie night.
Fucking hate you. God, Hobbs and Shaw. I refuse to watch that movie.
All right, but I think that's a good way to close the show. Bernie and The Rock, fucking they came hard with it. They came with fire.
Bernie with the real people's elbow, son. The real people's champ. The real people's champ. Good fucking show, man. What is this? Episode 107 in the motherfucking books.
Man, in the books. We'll do another one probably in a few more days. I got nothing else, man. Bernie closed out the show.
Good shit.